How's it going, everyone? Stick MC here in what is a rare on camera appearance. I don't normally do on camera for a variety of reasons. As you can see, I don't have a mic, I don't have a background. My table is there. I am who I am. Uh, I only do what I have time to do. And even though I'm dead centered, just bear with me here because what I am trying to do is present a data-driven response to some of what Tru3Talent does. And I just realized that it's not going to let me share my screen the way I thought it would. So I'm going to have to do it a different way. Yeah. Oh, there it is. I can. There we go. So before I bring up the screen that I want to share, I want to kind of make sure I'm clear about what I'm doing here. One, I'm not attacking Tru3Talent. I think he's one of the most informative streamers you can find. I think he does get a lot of unjust flack. And what I mean by that is you can disagree with his words, but that does not entitle anyone to attack his person. You may disagree with my words, and you can absolutely respond to what I'm saying and what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. But let the conversation be about the topic and don't make it about a human. This is also not in any way related to the whole Smurfing debate that's come up of late. I know that those two things are coincidental, but I've been pondering this for quite a while, just kind of thinking about, what do I really disagree with, and what do I base my disagreement on? And so that's kind of where that's been. So I wanted to kind of start there because no one deserves to be attacked as a human. No one deserves to be shamed or persecuted as a human being. And I don't want to. I'm going to get rid of this pillow. I don't want to. I don't want that to be what this is. There are things I really disagree with, but all my disagreements are based on data, facts. Um, and I want to logically, statistically show what I'm seeing and what that says, or at least to me, and kind of take it from there. That leads me to my sources. I have 4 source sets. The first includes Dead by Daylight's more recent data that they released in January, February, where they talk about their kill rates because that's one of the topics. So I have those statistics. Then I have Nightlight GG's statistic, or at least I know it's called Nightlight, but you can go there and look at their data, and they have a beautiful breakdown of so much information on killer statistics and what's going on and how they're doing it. And why that's important is Nightlight, they base their data on thousands of games from thousands of contributors and players. It's also a screenshot of an end game. So that game actually happened, and the data they generate is from those games. So, why this is relevant, why I feel like this is the most compelling set data sets is my individual games and my individual stats mean nothing compared to the entirety of the community. Sure, I can use my data to see how I compare to the norm, but my data cannot override the norm. Neither can Trues, neither can Otstarvas, neither can A-runs. There's no one human being who can overwhelm all of the data. They are either an exception or they fall into a norm. And if they are an exception, then the right thing to do is be like, okay, why? Why is this different from here? That's what data analysis can really do. So Nightlight has thousands upon thousands of games. The next one I want to talk about is my own stats. So I play killer, and part of my belief is that this is absolutely a killer-sided game. In order to prove that, I endeavor to play 100 games of every killer without perks and without add-ons and see how I do. As I record this, I have finished 7 killers. I'm currently on my 8th killer, who's Pig. Across 7 killers, I have a kill rate, 700 games, a kill rate of 58% and a win rate of 50%. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion. Well, what's your MMR? How's that going? It wouldn't really work. Just bear with me. Just listen to what I am doing and then how that compares, please. Why that's relevant is when I do this, I track how long it takes for the gens to get done, how many hooks per game, how many gens get done per game, how long each chase. Literally, I go through each game I watch with a stopwatch, and I start recording when I go for a chase, and I end it when the survivor is on the hook. That is how I time it. So all of that data I track and I contribute to inform where I'm going. There's one more data set that I have, but I'm going to kind of save that for last because I think it'll be relevant when I do that. So, excuse me. Thank you. Bear with me. Also, again, I'm sorry if the audio quality isn't the greatest. Again, I don't have a mic. I don't have a whole lot of things. All I have is what I'm doing, and that's just kind of where I'm at. So really, I'm trying this out. I hope it works. I might reshoot this whole thing, which would like not make my wife the happiest because she's watching the dog right now while I'm trying to do this. So let me do one more thing before I begin. There are things I absolutely agree with Tru. One, this game should absolutely, I'm going to start using my right hand. This game should absolutely be based on hooks. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I would support any system that does that. Where I separate from Tru is I really believe that he thinks if the developers tomorrow said 8 wins or 9 wins is the win con, and then killers would no longer worry about how many survivors they kill or not. I think it should be based on hooks, but unless you make camping impossible, not hard, not difficult, impossible. If you make it about hooks and you slow down the gens, then you just have killers 4K 5 genning every game because they probably like I am of the opinion that the average person will give two farts how many hooks is a win con. They want to kill survivors. That's why they click the killer button. Um, and I don't know what else to do. Now, I don't think that you should not address gen speed, even though I have evidence that supports it's not the problem Tru makes it out to be. More on that in a minute. My point is if you make camping impossible, and I have a few ideas on that, but I don't want this video to go forever. If you make camping impossible and you address gen speed, now you're making the game healthier because the killers can't tunnel and the gens can't fly. Those two things have to happen at the same time. I love his idea on endgame collapse. Now, look, I don't know if it's perfect or not, but anything's better than the current version, which is basically the game saying RNG decides whether the killer wins or the survivor wins during an endgame scenario. So his like you have to loop the killer to earn your escape. While that would put the survivor at a disadvantage, right now it's either a guaranteed out for the survivor or a guaranteed death for the survivor, and that is inherently unfair, or at least in my opinion. He mentioned recently his idea on DCs, where a person who DCs should be put in a lobby with other people who DC. I can get behind that. I'm cool with that idea. So I wanted to front load all of that because again, there's enough hate in the community. There's enough people saying, "Oh, this person's stupid," or "That person's this," or "That person's a liar," or "That person's this." Even a implied inference that someone might be smurfing or someone might not be genuine. When you're talking data, sooner or later, you're not going to get out of a conversation without at least drawing some sort of passion from people, and I'm not against that. But full on name calling, full on insulting, full on toxicity, that's not what I'm about. So now that I've done that, I'm going to pray that when I click share screen, this works out the way I hope it's gonna. So I have the first thing I have here is nightly statistics compared to Dead by Daylight statistics. So this is the Dead by Daylight kill rate, and then the nightlight kill rate. So the first affirmation that I absolutely want to put to bed And if I may be so bold as to tell True, the thing that you do that frustrates me is you point out things that are either very extreme, like they could happen, but they might not, or they do happen, but very, very rarely. And whether it's just in response to the debate or in your passion to say that it could be true, it's said so often that it presents the possibility or presents the attitude that it is true. Like, no, that's like what's happening. And the number one thing that I hear is a high kill rate doesn't mean a high win rate. Well, let's see how this goes. Um, this is Dead by Daylight's statistics. Their actual cure rates that they released somewhere in the neighborhood of February. The last time they let out their cure rates, or at least as many kill rates as they could. I don't think this covers all 32 or 35, but it does cover a lot. And this is Nightlight's kill rates. I obtained this data from Nightlight's website on May 10th. They cycle per month. So this goes from like April 29th to like May 29th. That doorbell was my grocery delivery. Bear with me here. I was trying to get this video done, so I'm just going to keep rolling. Um, a note about me. Look, I'm nobody. I'm just nobody. I'm just a guy who loves Day by Daylight, who loves statistics, who loves valuable intellectual discussion based on data. I'm not. I stream, but I'm not a pro. I'm just a guy who's trying to add his thoughts and contribute his data to the world. And so bear with me. I get it. I can only do what I have time to do, and that's what I'm doing. So thank you for that brief interruption, but we'll come back to this. So all this is the kill rates that Dead by Daylight released, and Nightlight shows that those kill rates are absolutely in line. In fact, um, there are zero kill rates between Nightlight and DBD's official stats that are further than 10%, and only one, two, three, four, five are even higher than 5% different. So what that means is there's agreement between two data sources, which means like that's how you verify facts. You compare one set to another set. Uh, Probably an argument about, well, what about MMR? What about all this? I can only speak to the data that I get. I can only speak to the data that I get. But this data says there is agreement between the two data sets. So now what I'm going to do is bring up this other data set. This is all of Nightlight statistics, which breaks down 4Ks, 3Ks, 2Ks, 1Ks. If you follow the conventional guidance, then what you're going to see is a win is a 3K or higher, a tie is a 2K, and boy, do I have a lot of thoughts on ties, and a loss is 1K or fewer. And what I want to do is draw your attention to this. I want to draw your attention to this column, which is the kill rate minus the win rate. So how far apart is a kill rate from a win rate? Because the assertion that I get frustrated by is, well, a 60% kill rate or some random number could be a 20% win rate or some random number, as if the kill rate is completely meaningless. It is true that the kill rate could be meaningless. That is mathematically possible, but there's no evidence of it. It's true that someone who buys a lottery ticket wins the lottery, but it is not true that everyone who buys a lottery ticket wins the lottery. What this data shows is for every killer, whatever their kill rate, the highest deviation, the highest separation from a killer's win rate, 3K or more, to their kill rate is right here. There is a 9.73 difference between Leatherface's kill rate and Leatherface's win rate. And he's the highest. That is the strongest separation from a kill rate to a win rate. It is not that extreme. The data is right there. This is the data that proves it. Could it happen? Yes, it could. Does it happen? No, it doesn't. Now, if there is an actual data set that True or anyone has that says, no, actually my kill rate is 50% and my win rate's like 20%, let me know. What I will confess in this part of the discussion is this. All right, I got to bring it up. Of all the killers I played with, Shape is the killer with whom I performed the worst with. The worst. I'm bringing this up right now. Just bear with me. And this is relevant to this discussion because it is the only indication that that ever happened. So I'm going to bring this up. So with Shape, my kill rate was 50%. It was actually 49.79. I killed 199 out of 400 survivors. And as you can see here, my win rate was 35%, which is a 15% deviation, which, sure, that is the highest deviation. But I'm playing Shape without perks and without add-ons. And Shape is the most polar character in the game because he has busted add-ons. Now, this is my own kill rate with my own win rate. I also include the data that doesn't agree with it. But in this very unique stance, in a thing that I don't know that anyone else does in this one time, yes, I have a 15% deviation, and he is the only killer where the deviation is nearly that far. Every other killer I have is within the same margin of Nightlight and the of Nightlight's statistic range. In fact, across 700 games, my overall kill rate, and I guess I'll go here because my last character was Leatherface. My overall kill rate is 56%, and my overall win rate is 50%. Actually, it's over here. Nope, that data's wrong. If you can see here, if you see here on the screen, this is all my kills for all the killers. I just have a typo. It's 58%. So this is the math, and this is the summary. That's the distinction. So those are my kills for every killer. That's Shape. I didn't write them down in order, but those are total kills across total survivors faced. So my overall kill rate is 58%, and my overall win rate, even without perks and without add-ons, is still 50%. Now, again, I get it. The MMR question is going to come up. Just be patient with me. I'm going to address it. It's my sincere hope that that puts the idea to bed. Absolutely, it is mathematically possible for a killer to have a high kill rate and a low win rate, but I haven't seen it. I just haven't. And talking about a thing that could happen in the face of it not happening is not logical. To say it could be happening when no one has seen it, yeah, of course, lots of things could happen. Lots of things are possible, and I don't deny it is possible. But show me who it happens to. I have shown you that it doesn't happen across thousands of players on Nightlight, across my own data, except in the rare case of a Shape. Show me anything on your end where it does happen. Yes, it can, but it does not. So here's the next one. Well, you see these kill rates and what's going on. Here's the MMR thing. Well, these things are crazy. These things go on, and the game is biased toward Survivor, and the game is biased toward four-man Swift. Well, let's take a look at this. I'm going to bring down this stats by because that other window was just to show that Nightlight and DBD, at least in kill rate, are consistent. So if their kill rates are consistent, it's reasonable. I have some data that shows that there's probably alignment between the win rate. Can I prove it in a court of law? No, but I have data that indicates what I'm saying is true. And uh, um, you know, give me a second. I have data that shows it's true. And what now I'm putting the ball in your court. Show me the data that says it's not. What I'm showing is what is. So I have right now as I'm back to Nightlight GGs. And here's what I want to say. You cannot affirm the game favors survivor when survivors aren't escaping more than killers are killing. You cannot logically affirm that the game favors one side when that side is not winning. And here's where the proof in the pudding is. This is the win rate for every killer. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not going to let me scroll. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. More than half the killers, 17 out of 35, have outright winning records. And you'd be like, well, that's only half. The other half must lose. Well, the other half is within 9.73% of having an outright winning record. This killer, Leatherface, there he is again. He has a 44.8% win rate, and he has the furthest distance from it. He's like the lowest performing killer in terms of win rate. That's not the same as highest loss rate, but there's a distinction there. He wins 44.8% of his games. And so, he's those are the separations. He wins. This is the data that I wanted to look at. So they have winning records. These are the distances from 50%. So these are the win rates. And again, Leatherface has a 44.8% win rate. And so yeah, no, he doesn't win 50% of his games. But this win rate, for instance, here's one 47.77. That is Oni. And what? Artist has a 45, Deathslinger with a 44. A 44% win rate does not mean a 55.37% loss rate. You have to factor in ties. You have to. So this is the non-losing rate for each killer. This is the percentage of games the killer ties or better. And every single one of them is above 50. Every single one. In fact, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 killers are below 60%. For the record, 56, let's see here, 56, yep, that's right. 56.76% of the time, if you play a killer, you are going to tie or better. And the survivors die. And if Swift is as broken as Tru affirms, that number could not be true. There would have to be a killer with an actual losing record. There would have to be a killer or an area where they can't win, because imbalance occurs when one cannot actually win. It doesn't make sense any other way. You cannot say it's unfair to them when they're the ones who lose so much. This is the overall average, and the overall win rate is 50.37%. And this should look familiar because my data, even without perks and add-ons, is right in line with Nightlight's, thereby two different sources verifying each other. My kill rate is 58%. The average killer is 56% across all killers, all players. My win rate is 50%. The overall average, according to Nightlight, all characters, all killers, 50.37%. It can't be biased towards survivor, 4-man or not, if they're not winning. It would be an unfair advantage if they lost. So the game is killer sided because whatever I do, whether I'm a 4-man and I bring all the perks and I bring borrowed time in the Bible and a bottle and I bring all the fixings, I still lose 56% of the time. 56.76% of the time, which is right in line with my personal loss rate. I keep all the data. This year in Dead by Daylight alone, I played more than 2,200 games and I tracked every single one of them. I escape about 41% of the time. Now, again, you can affirm, well, you're playing low MMR. I'm coming to that. I am, I promise. Point one. Yes, a high kill rate could not, it is possible for a high kill rate to not mean a high win rate. Hi, doggy. However, what cannot happen, it doesn't happen. So that's point one. Point two, the game is survivor sided. No, it isn't. If it were biased towards survivors, they would win and you would lose. But killers win and survivors lose. At least 56.76% of the time, according to two different sources of information. So again, I'll put the ball in your court. Show me the data. Now, I imagine I know where you're going, but bear with me. This is my dog again, and now he knows I don't want him here. So yeah, I might just have to deal with this. Hello, doggy. This is my adorable fluff ball. This is why I don't go on camera, because I'm usually fighting this battle regardless. All right. So those are two data points. I don't know how you feel about ties, but are you at least willing to acknowledge that a tie is in fact better than a loss? So a loss rate is more important than a non-losing rate, but when half the killers are outright winning and the rest of them are at worst tying most of the time, killers are fine. Now, this is across all MMR. This is across all the data. So now I want to bring up, that was interesting. Now I want to bring up the issue of gen speed, because that's another statement. Gen speed. So I'm going to bring up my area again. As of 700 games, this is how long in seconds it takes to get all 5 gens done. The affirmation is the gens fly. The gens always go quick. The gens fly. The gens fly. I don't know. What's 501 seconds? Bring up my calculator just real quick. 501 divided by 60, 8 minutes. It takes 8 minutes for the generators to get done. So argument 1, 8 minutes, that's a pretty standard Dead by Daylight game. And here's the other factor. The average time, the average percentage of games across 700 games that all the generators were finished is 61% of the time, 60.57 time. 60.57% of the time, all 5 generators get done. But here's the important thing. This is just Bubba as an example. And see, this is all the data I track. And I will happily share this with you. Eventually, I'm going to get all this posted on this stream as PDFs and links, but just roll with me here. I had 21 4Ks, 29 3Ks, which is 50, right? That, in this one, 61 games, all 5 gens were done. I didn't lose 61 games. I didn't lose 61 games. So even in the games where the gens managed to get finished, I still won those games. Now, obviously, 40, the 34 games I lost, is that, let me go back to game 100. Obviously, in the 4 games I lost, all gens were done. Yeah, that's true. But all the gens were done 61 times. So 55% of the time the gens were finished, I lost. The other 45% of the time, I won. Now, 55, like, but we're talking about a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. I I only lose about half of the games where all the gens are done, and this is important. This is very, very important. I only lose about half of the games all the gens get done. So sure, right about now, the comment is, well, in my games, well, when I play at my level, and I want to affirm some things, you're absolutely a better killer than I am. And you absolutely play stronger survivors than I play. I'm not going to debate you on this. I'm gonna give it to you. I can't prove it. I can't like show your MMR against my MMR. I do wish that Dead by Daylight would release MMR. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm just going to freely acknowledge it. You are a better killer than me. You're more skilled. Obviously, you bring perks and add-ons, so that's going to help. And you face a higher caliber of survivors. That fourth data set I mentioned, that's you, your data, True. I tracked all of your games. When you live stream on May 9th, 2024, I didn't watch all of the live stream, but what I did is I pulled up that date, May 9th, 2024. You played 18 games of Killer that day. You played 1 game of Survivor. And I tracked your games the same way I track my games. Your hooks per game average are right in line with my hooks per game average. The percentage of, let me see, the percentage of games where all gens were done is exactly, well, no, across all of my games, your percentage is a little lower. So in your games at your MMR, True, your games, you actually have fewer games where all 5 gens are done. Not more. Fewer games where all 5 gens are done. Now, what I will note is this right here. In your games at your MMR against your top level survivors, the gens, when they do get done, they only get done 55% of the time. But when they get done, they are done in 330 seconds, which is about 5 minutes on average. Now, that's an average of 18 games, but I need you to know a thing. I need you to understand something because this is where I'm going with my point. What I believe you're remembering are the games where there's agony. You played a game on, hold on. You played a game on Crow's Eye. No, it's the Withered Isle. You played a game on the Withered Isle. Where'd I put it? You played a game on the Withered Isle, and those gens flew. In that game on Withered Isle, those gens were done in 298.44 seconds. That's one game where the gens were done very, very, very fast. Then you played another game on RPD. That was the game where you played an RPD and you should have lost, but you actually tied that game because they tried to greed out a 4-man. But to be honest and to be fair, all the gens were done in a whopping 352 seconds. Those gens flew in that second game. But here's my point, True. In all of those games, when those gens were done, those, to my knowledge, let me check. There's 500 seconds. They didn't get done. There's one game. There's 2 games. Whoop. There's 2 games. In all of the games that you played, only 2 of those games were the gens done in less than 500 seconds, the exact same time I average at my MMR. The exact same time. So yes, it is true. There are occasions, 2 out of 18 games, 20% of your games, you watch the generators fly. And the rest of the games you play, because of how good you are and how well you manage your game, the generators take the same amount of time. So yes, 20% of the time the generators fly. 20% of the time you face a team that no one's going to beat. It's 20% of your time, sir. It's 20%. All those other games, and once more, because I tracked it, what percentage of games did you what percentage of the games did you lose? Well, let's look at your data. Your kill rate was 75% and your win rate was 72%. Your tie rate was 16.68%. You only lost a couple games. I think it was literally 2. Did I write that down? No. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you lost 2 games. If you're only losing 2 games, like, I don't understand how logically one can affirm that this is a problem when it's not stopping you from winning 7 out of every 10 matches. Now, the debate may be like, well, look at what I have to do. Maybe I have to camp and tunnel. Maybe I have to bring the meta. Maybe I have to do this. Well, our data aligns at your MMR and at my MMR. And I have a point to make there. I don't bring any perks at all. And I didn't go back and look at my games where my games were done in less than 300 seconds, but I would posit that they're the same percentage wise. Because here's a point I want to make. I think this proves MMR. I think that MMR works to such a degree that where at whatever level you're at, you're gonna win more than you lose if you play killer. The gens are gonna go at a certain speed. So you had those 2 games that really brought down your average because you have games that last almost 800 seconds. But most of your games on average are the when the gens do get finished, and that's only about 55% of the time. When they do get finished, you still win. In fact, you tied. Of the games you lost, only 27% of those games were like 5 gens got done, and 27% of the time, your games ended in losses. The other 72 point whatever percent of the time, you still won because the second guy died right as the 3rd gen popped, and you still were able to get that 3rd survivor. So yeah, sure. 2 out of 18 times you're going to face a team and they're awesome and they're on an unfair map and they brought an unfair build. And sure, that could happen more, but it doesn't. It doesn't happen that often. And I don't understand if that's the problem. It would have more of an impact on your games. You account for it, you plan for it, and while you may have to do A, B, C, and D to win, my point is you can. And the survivors, for the most part, 70% of the time, they can't do anything about it. So the better argument, in my opinion, is not whether or not killers win. They do. The better argument, not yet. The better argument is not whether or not it's survivor-sided. The better discussion is, sure, I win as a killer, but look at how unfun I have to play to win as killer. Please acknowledge that killers win. They win. Sure, they lose. And sometimes they either get their butts handed to them. But at my MMR, at your MMR, all of Nightlight statistics, all these sources agree killers win more than they lose. At the very worst, very worst, they tie or better more than they outright lose. And a survivor can't tie. Now, maybe if I'm in a 4-man squad, because I track that, I can count that as a tie, right? Well, I happen to have my team. So I'm on a team I play solo. I play with one guy. I play with four guys. It kind of depends on what all's going out. But I do have a team. And when I'm playing with a team, whether it's four men or not, a four man or three man or whatnot, whenever the majority of us escape, I call that a team win. And when I'm playing with a full four man, I call a two man out a tie. All of Dead by Daylight Year 8 across 1,515 games, we still only win 47% of the time. And we only have 16 ties out of 1,500 games. You can tie a whole bunch. And yeah, sure, again, I acknowledge ties are not as good as wins. Sometimes I'll throw a tie just trying to get a win. And then I regret it. I'm like, I should have been happy with the tie. But that's not what went on. That's not how it goes. So one must look at this data and acknowledge what the data says. Killers tire better all the time. All the time. Well, okay, not 100%. Killers tire better 57% or more of the time. So it can't be survivor sided because they can't win no matter what they do. And the only way they win is if they, and if they, and if they, and if they, and sure, if you have 30,000, if that's a lot of ifs, that's a long way to survivor sided. That's a long way from Swift being the problem. I think the real problems are maps, because when I spawn on Eerie of Crows as killer, I'm like, well, there's a loss. When I spawn on Withered Isle as a killer, I'm like, well, there's a loss. When I spawn in RPD, I'm like, guaranteed win. Now, again, you actually had a tie in RPD. I have losses on RPD, but I am really of the opinion that RPD is a death sentence. A lot of things happen, but more often than not, you're going to tire better. And you particularly, you win 7 out of 10 matches at your MMR against those high opponents. So what's the problem? The problem is what you have to do to win, how unfun the game is. Which leads me back to my original assertion. It is absolutely true. The game would be fun if it was based on hooks. If you could go for chases and the survivor could have chases. So, I have several theories on this, and I'd love to discuss them like through a chat or not a thing. I'm not asking for, it would be an honor to like actually talk to you. But in this case, all I'm saying is I don't want to go in too deep. But by all means, me personally, the other members of my team think I'm crazy. I'm actually okay with the gens taking a minimum of 120 seconds. That's brand new part, two people on it, 120 seconds. But only if you make camping literally impossible. Hook states need to go away. The killer should not be able to progress one survivor all the way to death without the survivor being able to do anything about it. That's not fun. The killer's standing there staring at a guy in a hook, and the survivor's there. And meanwhile, like the gens are flying. The game needs to be balanced so that gen speeds are feasible, but you can't then make gen speeds take forever and then do nothing about camping and tunneling, because killers are not going to just decide. And this is where we branch off. Killers are not out of the kindness of their heart going to just suddenly decide not to camp and tunnel because they don't have to. Already right now, people are going for 50-game win streaks, which I don't think they should. No one should win 50 times in a row or lose 50 times in a row, not in a game that's balanced in any way. All of those streaks are ridiculous. I play no perks, no add-ons, and I have a winning percentage. That shouldn't be possible, but it is, because I absolutely camp and tunnel, and it works. So you have to do both at the same time, and I would be in favor of that. But those are my assertions, and those are the data that proves it. Nightlight, Dead by Daylights, my own data, and most importantly, from your point of view, your own data. Now, again, I still affirm your stats on them own are statistically meaningless compared to thousands of people. But when your data aligns with my data that aligns with Dead by Daylight, and I want to reaffirm this, I think that proves MMR. I truly do. I think here's the dog. You see my arm flying. Come here, buddy. Come here. There we go. Sorry. I think that proves MMR, because MMR at all levels, at your level, MMR is working. But here's the interesting thing. You're winning more and performing better, even though you're at a high MMR. And you're the only you're the like I thought about like looking at an odds day and looking at other killer days. I just don't have the time. I'm fitting this in on a Sunday while trying to do 18,000 other things. But you're actually having more success. The generators are done more at a low MMR. The survivors are escaping more at my MMR. You're winning more and killing more at your MMR. So the argument that top MMR is unfair is it can't be true if you are top MMR and you are performing the way you are performing, then if you win as killer, you can't possibly that was weird. Oh, someone liked it, I guess. You can't possibly affirm that it's unbiased towards survivors. Yes, again, you do have games where those gens fly, but they happen 20% of the time. And if you sit down, if you say, "Hey, come sit down and play this game," you'll win. You'll only lose or get your butt kicked 20% of the time. I would sign up for that role. I would volunteer to be the one who only gets stomped 20% of the time before I sign up to be the one who gets stomped 80% of the time. So that's all my data. Those are all my responses. I really genuinely hope you see this. I truly hope that you see this. You don't have to respond. You don't have to do a reaction video. It'd be cool if you did, but I just want this data to go out into the world. And here it is. These are facts. These are statistics across thousands and thousands of people, across my games and across your games. And all the data says the same things. Kill rates indicate a pretty good win rate, if not a very good win rate. The game is quantifiably killer sided. What killers have to do to win, that's a whole different argument. It's a whole different conversation. The fact that they can and do means the game is quantifiably killer sided. And it should be. The devs want this and they're getting what they want. I just think they're doing it the most brutal way. They could still have those same numbers where the games in and of themselves were fun, rather than what I feel like Dead by Daylight is. I can choose to win or I can choose to have fun. Now, if you want to win and have fun, if I were to say I want to win and have fun, that is entitlement. That would be an entitled statement. I want to win and laugh while doing it. Look, if you're in a competitive game, like winning is nice, having fun is nice, but winning and having fun would be like the dream, not the standard. I feel like that brings everything to a close. I feel like that brings everything to a head. Again, please, this isn't I don't feel like there was any like smackdown or what, like, oh yeah, I laid that down, none of that. And I don't want anyone to do that. I just wanted to prove, I just wanted to show numbers. These are what the numbers say, and they say those things. Kill rates mean a good win rate or better. The game is killer sided. Gens take on average between 390 to 500 seconds to get done. And look, my games span 700 and I tracked 18 of yours. So those two butt kickings, that's going to really kill the average across the whole. Is that motion? What does that? I don't know. I get these balloons coming up, so I don't know what that means. At the end of the day, the data shows what it shows. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I'm interested to see what anyone else thinks. But just like Tru has asked, I asked the same thing. The ball is in your court now. Don't tell me to watch your stream, because I did. And when I watched your stream and I timed your stream and I did all that, it proved what I thought. Show me that. Now the ball's in your court. You go in there. Yeah, you do experiments and I see it, but every time you do an experiment, it's, well, I won, so there it is. What's the term? I gentlemanly challenge you. Pick a killer. Play 100 games, no perks, no add-ons, just like I did. I played Trapper, Wraith, Billy, Doctor, Hag, Shape, and Billy, and I'm 20 games into Pig. Like, put your games where your mouth is. You affirm you couldn't win. Give it a shot. I mean, what if you play 20 games? That's like 5 days. It's like a week where you're doing this experiment, and it'd be fascinating. And then you would have, like, here's the quantifiable data. If you did that, I might actually consider going in there and timing those. I don't know if I could, because again, my time is very, very, very short. I work full time. And then I come home and I spend time with my family till they go to bed at 8:30, and then I jump on and I stream. And I have to do all this stuff myself. I don't have any mods. I don't have anyone going anywhere else. But I'm sure if you're playing, there'd be someone willing to time that stuff in game. But that's the data. And if you want any more, I'm going to try to find a way to get all this. It's not going to happen like right now, but I'm going to try to find a way to get these things posted. I'm probably going to PDF them and then share the links to the Google Share Drive so that you can open them up and look. That'll probably happen later tonight, but I needed to get this shot and recorded. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Bye now.